Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Rail Theory video. Today, I'll be talking about the potential for new playable paths being added to the game. There are quite a few more paths beyond the 7 that are playable now, so I thought it would be fun to get into how they could work. Also, if you like this video, consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's move right on and get into the video. At the moment, there are currently 7 playable paths within Star Rail, each with a certain role to play in combat. Characters on the path of destruction, led by the Aeon Nanook, deal outstanding amounts of damage and possess great survivability, being suitable for various combat scenarios. Characters on the path of the Hunt, led by the Aeon Lan, deal extraordinary amounts of single target damage, and are the main damage dealer against elite enemies. Characters that follow the Erudition path, led by the Aeon Noose, deal remarkable amounts of multi-target damage, and are the main damage dealer against groups of enemies. Users of the Harmony path, led by the Aeon Zype, apply buffs to allies to improve the team's combat capabilities. Characters who follow the path of Nihility, led by the Aeon IX, apply debuffs to enemies that reduce their combat capabilities. Users of the Path of Preservation, led by the Aeon Klapoth, possess powerful defensive abilities to protect allies in various ways. And finally, characters who follow the Path of Abundance, led by the Aeon Yoshi, heal allies and restore HP to the team. So, we currently have tanks, single-target DPSs, multi-target DPSs, buffers, debuffers, shielders, and healers. While these are a pretty good selection of classes, there is definitely room for more. Before I get into the ideas I have, I'd like to talk about Pathstriders and Emanators, and how they get power from the paths that they follow. Pathstriders are people who follow a certain path, while Emanators are the ones who have gained the blessing of an Aeon. Now, it is important to say that not all Aeons are interested in creating Emanators. This would explain why some of the paths aren't playable, but there are still mentions of certain Aeons creating Emanators without having a playable path. There have also been cases of one person being able to have blessings from multiple Aeons, such as the Trailblazer who has been recognized by both Nanook and Klapoth. Of course, Pathstriders can also switch paths, which could allow for currently playable characters to gain alternate paths in the future, including new paths that aren't playable yet. Anyways, I've come up with 2 main ideas for this video, with some smaller ones in the last section. The 2 paths I picked were the Elation and the Remembrance, mainly due to their presence in the simulated universe. The other paths in the simulated universe are playable, and the effects of their blessings match with their roles as playable paths. So, I decided to use the simulated universe as a basis for both of these. To start off, we have the Elation, led by the Aeon Aha. I've recently covered Aha in a video actually, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts on them, I recommend checking that out. Anyways, Aha has been stated to grant mortals its power at random to toy with them, meaning that Emanators of the Elation are definitely possible. In the simulated universe, the blessings of Elation focus on a certain attack known as a follow-up attack. Some of these blessings can apply Sensory Pursuit and Aftertaste, both of which involve causing a follow-up attack of a random damage type. There are also a few characters who have talents that use follow-up attacks, including Jingwang, Herta, Himiko, Yanqing, and Blade. Some of these follow-up attacks are multi-target, while others are single-target. If the Elation were to become a playable path, I would say that characters who use its power would focus heavily on follow-up attacks. They could also make use of counters, similar to the ones used by Clara or March 7th. Of course, many of these characters would have follow-up attacks of their own, with some skills or ultimates being able to increase the power or amount of those attacks. Other characters could focus on buffing follow-up attacks for themselves and other characters, allowing this path to also play a support role in some cases. As for lore reasons, Aha loves laughter, and would do anything to get a laugh. This includes causing a lot of chaos, which I've talked about in my recent video. Having your characters attack more and more could be seen as entertainment to Aha. Now, I also have a couple of characters that could walk on the path of Elation if it is ever released. Of course, the first of these characters is Sampo Koski. Towards the end of the Belobog Trailblaze missions, there is a scene that heavily hints towards him being a member of the Masked Fools, a group that worships Aha. Perhaps later on, we'll bump into him again, but this time, he'll have gained the blessing of Aha, being able to walk on the path of Elation. Anyways, the other character is definitely less likely, that being Herta. Herta finds Aha annoying, with them causing her headaches with her work on the simulated universe. She doesn't like them at all, so you may be wondering why I think she could gain the blessing of the Elation. Well, Aha once blessed the morning actors with their power. The morning actors follow beliefs that are seemingly opposite of the Elation, and even renounce the path. However, sadness and elation are two sides of the same coin, and so Aha granted them their blessing as well, even though they still renounced the Elation. Anyways, the other one of my main ideas was for the Path of Remembrance, led by the Aeon Fuli. Fuli is one of the most mysterious Aeons of all, as they quietly appeared in the universe, as if they were meant to be there. They also show up when an important event is about to happen, or rather to record that event in the universe's memories. Now, in the simulated universe, the blessings of Remembrance deal with decreasing an enemy's effect res and increasing a character's effect hit rate. This means that attacks that hit the enemies have a higher chance of inflicting a status condition. These blessings often involve freezing enemies as well. Some of these blessings can also apply Dissociation, which freezes an enemy and deals additional ice damage when they thaw out, and Ionian River, which doubles the duration of a debuff. Now, it seems like these blessings focus a lot on debuffs, and we already have a path for that, the Nihility. However, I think a playable Remembrance path would focus more on status conditions rather than just debuffs. The main debuff it causes in the simulated universe is lowering effect res after all, allowing for better chances of status conditions. As a playable path, characters could have skills that either lower the enemy's effect res or increase your ally's effect hit rate. Of course, there would also be skills that can cause status conditions, or perhaps talents that can inflict them as well. As for ultimates, they could have a much higher chance of applying a status effect to one or multiple enemies, while still being able to deal a good amount of damage. For the lore reasons, I'd like to talk about Fuli's followers in the Garden of Recollection. These followers travel around the universe in order to collect memories, using any means necessary to obtain them. You could say that they would have to trap the memories, giving a connection to status conditions like Frozen or Imprison. There could also be new unique status conditions that are introduced with Remembrance characters, as some playable characters already have some of their own. Anyways, I think it's time to talk about some characters who could walk on this path if it becomes playable. The first character I chose was March 7th. She was found encased in ice by the Astral Express crew, and is unaware of her past. She now takes photos to preserve memories and remember her past, similar to what the Garden of Recollection does. She also has a unique form of ice called Sixth-Phase Ice, which could connect to how the blessings of Remembrance specialize in the frozen condition. Now, the next character I have is Welt Yang. He is from another universe, where he was the Herrscher of Reason. Perhaps the Remembrance path could allow him to unlock more of his original power. However, instead of Welt walking on this path, I think one of his companions from back then could. This companion would be none other than the Void Archives. According to Part 3 of Himiko's character story, the Void Archives came aboard the Astral Express with Welt. Therefore, he could still be within this universe, and we may meet him in the future. Being from another universe as well, I could see him being on the path of Remembrance. Anyways, before I end this video, I'd like to briefly go over the other paths within the game. The first of these is the Trailblaze path, led by the Aeon Akavili. Now, we are technically already following this path as part of the Astral Express crew, but we don't have the blessing of Akavili because they are either dead or missing. If this path does somehow become playable, I think it would definitely be towards the end of the game, and would act somewhat like the theorized light element for the Travelers in Genshin. Anyways, the next path is the Enigmata, led by the Aeon Mythos. As its name suggests, this path is quite mysterious, with not much known about it. If it were to become playable, I could see characters creating illusions of themselves and their allies to distract enemies. There could also be a confusion mechanic with this path, causing enemies to attack themselves or the other enemies in the battle. Pretty much anything that causes a sense of confusion could work for this path. The next three paths would be the Equilibrium, led by Ho-Oh, the Veracity, led by Ouroboros, and the Finality, led by Terminus. To me, the Eons of these three paths seem as though they wouldn't be interested in creating Emanators, but then again the Aeon of the Destruction creates them, so anything is possible. Now, there are 4 paths remaining, all of which will likely not be playable. These paths are the Beauty, led by Adrilla, the Permanence, led by Long, the Propagation, led by Taziranth, and the Order, led by Ina. As for why they're unlikely to be playable, well, all 4 of these Eons are dead, or in Adrilla's case, missing. And those are my thoughts on future playable paths in Star Rail. I haven't really taken a look at gameplay mechanics and theories before, but I rather enjoyed it. If you guys like this kind of video, then I'll be sure to make more in the future. I'm having a really good time making videos on Star Rail, and I hope you've all enjoyed them so far. I would love to hear what other Star Rail lore topics you'd like me to talk about in the comments below as well though. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.